welcome back to Married with Gaming.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Jen. And today we are going to be reviewing Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live action series on Netflix. Now, coming into it, I could not say I'm a fan because I had only ever watched a few episodes here and there out of order when the kids were growing up. And about the only thing I could tell you about it would be the characters' names, the vibe, what the vibe was, like very basic, like plot, like their or Fire Nation. But I do remember liking Sokka and Zuko. So that's all I knew about it. So Avatar was mostly something you did with the kids.
Yeah, with my oldest, we pretty much watched it from the get-go. At first, I was like, this is some kid show. But then after just watching it with them, I was like, oh, this has good writing, good plotting, some good characters, good character development. So it got me interesting because it was written to not treat kids like cartoons I remember that were just to advertise toys. Right. This was actually, treating kids like they could understand character flaws and development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So would you say you were a fan then?
Well, I became a fan, and then as the older boys of ours that we have, our younger son got into it, and then later our daughter. So I must say that show probably was in rotation in our house for a good 7-8 years solidly. I mean, way past, it just kept getting played.
And that's why I kept catching random episodes, because it was always on. So going into the live action, I really didn't have any expectations because I didn't, like I said, I wasn't super familiar. Did you have expectations going in?
My expectation for any translation or live action is it's going to be bad. And that's almost like that's what I feel for most modern shows, that they're going to take it, reinvent it, or envision it for a modern audience. I automatically think, okay, how bad is it going to be? And I almost didn't want to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to watch something new, but not generally excited to watch remakes because they usually mess something up. So.
Well, especially after the film adaptation, where I only ever saw clips, but I trust my kids who grew up with it, and when they seen parts of the film, I remember they just said they were at a friend's house, they started to watch it because they were excited, and they just shut it off after a few minutes because it was not what they wanted to watch. And these weren't even judgmental. These are like preteens or early teen kids that are like, nope.
Yeah. So we started it, and episode 1 was titled Aang, and it basically takes us through introducing Aang until Sokka and Katara find him. I don't think they necessarily wake him up. I think he just wakes up, but out of the ice where he's been for 100 years. So my thoughts on that first episode, I didn't think it was bad, but I felt like it really felt flat. Like there were clearly some moments that were supposed to be emotional and emotional connected moments that weren't, because we really didn't get to know Aang at all. I felt like they did a better job with Sokka and Katara than they did with Aang as far as introducing us to kind of who they are. But I felt like it was really flat. And then there's a whole monologue where Aang is talking to Appa about he didn't want to be Avatar or whatever. And I just kept thinking the whole time, show, don't tell. You could have shown this, and then I would have felt connected to Aang.
Yeah, from what I remember of the animated show, and I purposely did not rewatch it, was that there was things that were shown in flashbacks revealed, but they just kind of threw it all out there. But then it doesn't hit because when they showed us flashbacks, it hits at times where it relates to the current story. You know, that's what I remember. And so those it would have been different. But instead they kind of just show some things, frozen in ice, and then released, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, and it took me a while to figure. I didn't get that he was trapped in the ice for 100 years at first. I'm like, wait, I even asked you? Wait, did some time pass and I just didn't know?
And
so
that's not super clear.
Yeah, it's not. And they didn't, I mean, like, even they could have put on the screen 100 years later, but they didn't.
If you know and have watched it, you know. But if you haven't, that it's not really super clear. You don't know that, well, spoiler, the comet's on a cycle. You don't know that, that it's been that long. There's an earlier thing that says it was generations, but not knowing what that means, yeah.
Yeah. And then episode 2 is called Warriors, and that is, they go to the Kyoshi Temple, and Katara learns waterbending. And,
she learns it from the scroll that she got.
Right.
She's practicing that.
Right. Kyoshi takes over Aang's body to show the path of the Avatar.
Yeah, to repel some invaders.
So I felt like this episode was okay. I felt like we got definitely more of a feel for all three main characters, and Zuko was in this one too as well. And you kind of see he's very impatient, and he kind of lets Zhao in on what's happening, kind of because he didn't listen to Uncle Iroh.
And some people, I don't know, when I was listening to people later say that, of course, Sokka, you originally had the, kind of a male superiority because, warrior.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, because, he was kind of like females can be warriors. That was in the cartoon a lot. And then he changed. This didn't give time to change that, but it didn't matter.
Well, it seems like in later episodes, though, that's a whole thing where the Northern Water Tribe doesn't let women be warriors, but the Southern Water Tribe seem to.
No, we're not. I don't remember.
Because that was a whole thing in one of the last episodes with Katara and the Northern.
The Northern one was really like that, yeah.
Yeah, so it would make sense that wouldn't be so much of an issue here in this reworked version.
Right, and there wasn't time for his character to really develop. He just thought he was, a warrior. Then gets kind of shown that some people are, train harder. Mm-hmm. And so he accepts that, learns, kind of has a little romantic, whatever you want to call it, thing. Yeah, so it kind of followed the animated thing in that respect, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Episode 3 was Omashu, when they go to Omashu, meet Jet, meet the Mechanists, and are kind of, taken in by both of them, who are not exactly who they seem to be. And then it ends with both Iroh and Aang being captured. So there's something. Now, I gotta say, I like Uncle Iroh.
Yeah.
I didn't really remember him from the cartoon, really, but I really liked him. I mean, the little bit that I do remember, this actor playing Uncle Iroh seemed just like him. But I thought he was...
He seems very much what I remember from the animated show, that he's a philosopher in a way.
Yeah, he seemed very, very much kind of the voice of reason throughout, and I really liked his character. So, and Omashu, this was, I kind of got annoyed with Katara in this episode just because she's just constantly whining about nobody listening to her. But I don't think that's always true. I feel like people did listen to her before that, but she just got kind of whiny for me. But otherwise, it was fine.
Yeah, and it had... it was the Earth Kingdom with his friend from the past.
Right, but they didn't reveal that till the next episode, I think, which was Into the Dark. And that's when Aang goes in and meets Boomy.
Yeah, but the important part, the most important part of these episodes was the cabbage vendor.
Oh, the cabbage vendor, yes.
Who has been...
Was that in the cartoon? Because
yes,
that was hilarious.
And it's been reincarnated in various video games. I mean, Warcraft had the cabbage vendor.
I didn't know that.
Other games have done homages to it. There's been some things in some of the games for it, or even written stuff, yeah.
And the hippie minstrels, which completely threw us back to that Star Trek The Original Series episode with the hippie minstrels. So,
a little bit.
I don't know what it is about hippie minstrels, but there we go. And then the power of love, or whatever love is the light that shines brightest in the dark.
We're getting a lot of spoilers, but yeah.
Well, it's not a spoiler-free review. It's just a review. Which, I think that's sweet that they show, familial love is also love, and it doesn't, not all love is romantic love, which I thought was neat.
Kind of like Luke and Leia, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then episode 5, Spirited Away, that's the one where they run across the ruined forest, and then they go into the spirit world, and Sokka and Katara get sucked in with Aang into the spirit world, and Iroh hires a bounty hunter, Iroh and Zuko.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And then we see different spirit guides, and there's the fox spirit.
The fox spirit, the owl.
Which is kind of cool.
And then the bad guy, evil spirit, right? The face stealer.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a kind of a scary episode for kids. I thought it was kind of scary. I don't like scary things, so I thought it was a little bit scary. And then episode 6 was Masks, so that's the one where we finally get to see how Zuko got his scar.
But if you think of the title, it's not just that. It's also kind of, with the mask title, it's also the face you show the world.
Mm-hmm.
In opposition to the face that you have for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, I was just trying to say the plot summary, not the philosophy behind it. That's fine, yes. And then, and then Zuko comes in to rescue Aang with his completely badass, where did this come from?
Well, he didn't want the other guy to get one over on him, which that's the point. The other guy did get one over on him, stealing his glory, and so he's like, no, I'm not going to accept that.
Right.
So I thought that's part of his character.
This is why...
But it also showed a little break in it, because he kind of showed some vulnerability, but then he got mad at showing vulnerability.
Yes.
Which he's been taught that showing vulnerability is weakness.
Bad. Yeah. Speaking of which, Fire Lord Ozai, played by Daniel Day Kim, that guy is not likable at all.
Yeah, I think in the animated show, he has hardly any screen time. He's basically a background character, from what I remember. But on this, they got a good actor that brings that forth. And even though sometimes it seems a little over the top, it's appropriate. It feels appropriate.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it in a second. And then episode 7 is the North, and 8 is Legends. So the North, they go to the North Waterbending tribe. There's a whole woman power thing. Women can be fighters, whatever. I didn't care about that, but
which
I guess it's important to Katara's story.
I was going to say that would tie in better with also, some of them coming from, but they didn't show that, he had that mindset.
Right.
He just showed that he thought he was a badass fighter, warrior, protector of his village, and that he wasn't that. So
But it's good. They let him fight, and it turned the tide. Well, it didn't really turn the tide, but it helped.
And the fight between the two was almost spot on the same as the animated. Well, it's what our son reminded us of when he watched it with us. He was like, that's spot on, because he had rewatched it.
Well, the most important thing about the last 2 episodes was Kaiju Ocean. Ocean Kaiju. Because anything with a giant thing fighting is my favorite thing. I don't care how good or bad it is. It's automatically my favorite thing. So giant Kaiju, Ocean, Aang, made that show 1,000 times better automatically.
Yeah.
So, I think the last episode did have a lot of touching moments, and I did cry.
Well, it did have an interesting things in it, and I mean, it was no spoiler for me. I know it was going to happen, so I just waiting to see how it plays out. But it's neat to see live action renditions of the fleet and the giant monster and the moon going out. That was
Yeah, the
cool.
moon going out was cool.
And the implications of that, and then then you have I knew it was going to happen. The sacrifice. I mean,
it was. I mean, I didn't know that storyline, but it was predictable. Like I said, she's part moon. She's gonna become the moon. So, I mean, it was. You knew what was gonna happen, but it was. I thought I liked it overall. I liked the live action Avatar. I'm excited for season 2. I mean, I should probably go back and watch the cartoon, but.
At first I was skeptical, like I said, but I think it kept a lot of the basic story, kept a lot of the characters and how they're portrayed. I thought the costuming was pretty cool.
The special effects were pretty good, too. I mean, there were a couple times, like, you could tell, okay, that's, like, a green screen or CGI background, but I think it was beautifully shot. Like, a lot of the scenes were just really pretty, really great scenes. I did think the acting, I think Zuko, the guy that played Zuko, did a phenomenal job because he actually had some very good emotive like acting. I think all of them from the limited memory I have of the cartoon, I think they all felt like the same. I still like Sokka and Zuko the best of all the characters. And they felt like I mean you could tell they were trying to be like the guy playing Sokka. You could tell he was trying to be like Sokka from the cartoon. But I appreciated that. It felt a little cheesy at times, so I kind of wish it had just a little bit more gravitas to it. Wasn't trying to be exactly the cartoon.
Watching it also was very appropriate for kids or teen audiences.
Yes, thank goodness.
I mean, the biggest thing they say is kick ass or something like that. That's the biggest.
Right, and it was all good. Well, I mean, the cartoon was this way too, I'm sure, but it was all good, like basic things that you want to teach anybody, So.
And I think also commenting on it, like watching it, I was like, okay, this stuff is pretty good. But then the first time I thought the costume was like I was like, this is impressive, was like the Kyoshi Warriors, the makeup, the look of it. It was like they didn't try to, like sometimes when they reinterpret it, they didn't try to make it different. They didn't try to make their own spin on it, And that's what I was thinking that they were going to start doing. Everything fit.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. So overall, we enjoyed it. So
I think it basically fits the feel, fits the vibe.
Yeah, it felt very similar.
I could see where people that really like the animator are like, why'd they need to remake it if they're going to remake the same thing? But I think the basic thing is it's the same story. It's just a different media. It's just media way to tell it. And there are people even if there are people who won't watch it if it's animated or what they call a cartoon or it's not really anime because it's not Japanese. Maybe that's the definition. But they won't watch it because of that. But they'll watch this. And I also think it's fun to see them slightly reinterpreting characters, and they're not really doing different spin on them. The only thing I wish is if they would kind of made the season longer.
Yeah,
I think it needed more time to tell the story of the setup.
Yeah, I wish they had taken. I wish they had taken more. More time. We could have had more than 8 episodes. We could have had 16. I don't know why this thing to make 8 or 10 episodes is a thing. I would like more episodes. I'm just saying. For everything in general, I would like more episodes if it's good.
And that's the thing of modern series. They have the 8 to 10 episodes instead of the 20-some like they used to do. And I can understand if you're going to go big budget effects, and such, or if they want to see if it connects with an audience before they greenlight more.
Yeah.
But I would say definitely give it a watch. As far as like another twist to it, gamifying it, I know they made a Avatar role-playing game. I was on the initial like test. I downloaded it, but, and this is just my personal preference, it was based on a system called Powered by the Apocalypse, which isn't. I don't really. It's not the system I really like. But it looked interesting. It looked like it tried to keep the flavor of it. And if you're a fan, I would just get the book or the RPG just to convert it to your favorite other RPG. That'd be what I'd do, or just to get info.
Nice.
But if you wanted to, you could. I mean, if you're familiar enough with it, I think it has plenty of potential or possibility to convert or steal stuff for your
own campaign,
for your games.
your own game. Yeah, there's a lot of lore.
Yeah. There's a lot of lore, and you just have to kind of tweak how bending works.
Yep. Well, let us know what you guys thought, if you guys liked it or not. And we will see you next time.
Later.
Thank you for watching, and please take a moment to like and sub.